The day that this picture was taken, the young guy that you're looking at there was about to cash his paycheck. It would be the last time that he cashed a check, a salary check written by somebody other than himself for 40 years. I am that young man, an owner manager now for 40 years. In that time I've set up about three companies, the third of which I still run. I love doing it. I've never operated huge businesses, and the most people I ever had working for me was about 50, fewest about 5, the average was about 15 or so. The scale really had one sort of a slightly unusual benefit. It enabled me to get very, very close to the people that work for me, something that's difficult to do if you run a large company. And the relationships matter. They've given me enormous pleasure to see the successes of people, both whilst they work for me and indeed afterwards as they build their own careers. I've learned a lot over those 4 decades. I've learned that you must have values, that you must live up to your values, and that it's not always an easy thing to do. And I've seen huge changes, of course, over 4 decades, too many to mention, but probably the 3 most significant, I think looking at it from here, would be the arrival of the peace process in Ireland, the dawning of the information age, and then the collapse of the Soviet tyranny in Eastern Europe and freeing the millions and millions of people from Russian rule. And I have no doubt that the collapse of communism and the dawning of the information age were linked. To me, the least attractive change that I've seen has been the advent of this sort of winner-takes-all mentality, which sees the big corporate bosses being rewarded, really, I think, out of all proportion, when you get the head of a computer company being paid hundreds of millions of dollars a year, while the Chinese worker in a factory in far-off China is getting 50 cents an hour in a factory with anti-suicide nets on its roof. The vast majority, I think, of owner-managed businesses have tended to be able to avoid the worst excesses of that, and that's something that I admire in owner-managed businesses. Yes, there should be rewards for success. There certainly are penalties for failure, but everything should be proportionate. I've long believed that success in business, indeed success in life, is about getting a few of the really important decisions absolutely right. You've got to get those ones really right. And then you've got to get a reasonable proportion of the myriads of decisions that you take day in, day out, reasonably right. The decision I took in 1972 to start as an owner-manager was the right one for me. I've no doubt about that at all. The decision I took in 1974 to ask Helen Keogh to be my wife certainly was the right one for me, and I hope Helen thinks that was the right one for her too. And of course the decision that Helen and I took to make the rearing of our children, Rachel and Aoife, our #1 priority, was absolutely right for us, and I hope for our 2 girls too. There was one other decision that I took that shaped my life. That was to attend the Harvard Business School Owner-President Management program in the early 80s. It's a fantastic program. Harvard is a fantastic place, and it changed my life utterly, as it has a habit of doing. When you are an owner-manager, your life becomes, or your business I should say, becomes your life, and your clients become your lifeblood. In fact, many of my clients have become cherished friends over the years. My businesses have been in what's called the business-to-business arena. But it's not really business to business. It really is person to person, mano a mano. All transactions are between people. And I never tire of telling the people that I work with that behind every order is a person. Someone who has placed their trust in us. The order may be something quite routine, or it may be a vital cog in some major plan. The success of a business might rest on it. Certainly the success of a person's career. We can never forget that. We must always deliver on our promises, no ifs or buts. And throughout the 40 years that I've been in business, I've strived never to misplace that trust, never to let a client down. We can't all succeed in everything we do. That is an absolute. But to fail for lack of effort is utterly unacceptable. If you want to succeed in your own business, you must build a reputation for giving your all. My business has been my life. It still is. If you've been part of that life as a customer, someone who worked for me as a supplier, a banker, and indeed if you still are, then thank you from my own behalf and behalf of everybody who is dear to me. I conclude with a quote from a speech given by the former President of the United States, Theodore Roosevelt, in the Sorbonne in Paris a little over 100 years ago. I'm not the first to quote from this, nor shall I be the last. I pick it because we owner managers choose a very particular path in life, one that can be quite lonely. We dream up an idea for a business, we raise the finance, we organise its affairs, and hopefully we get it off the ground. We don't always succeed. Yes, some of us would boast about being profitable from day one, but for the majority of us it will be like life itself, a bit of a roller coaster. We'll have our good years and we'll have some that are not so good. Right now, a lot of small business owners are facing into pretty tough times. And so these words are really for all of you, so that everybody out there, all the Paddy Hayeses out there, bigger and smaller, whatever they might be, know that you're not alone. It is not the critic who counts, Roosevelt said, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. I'll settle for that. Bye now.